bright and early on a Tuesday morning. Let's do a week 2 recap. Key injuries, rookies balling out, and top picks disappointing in waiver wire. Let's get it. All right, first and foremost, on the injury front, starting with the Thursday night game, man, tough break for Tua. Another concussion on a pretty normal play, running up the middle and trying to dive for the first down. Obviously, the first concern is with his health, but it sounds like he will play again, is his plan. Visiting with a neurologist, we'll see what that looks like here in the next couple weeks. But the main thing you want to look at here is the fact that if you have Tyreek Hill, it's definitely a downgrade. If you have Jalen Waddle, it's a big downgrade. If you have Devon Achane, it's a downgrade. But you're still starting those guys unless you have someone significantly better than Waddle. The other two, you basically have to start, especially Achane with the fact that he got the bulk of the carries. They still got a lot of dump-off passes. Keep rolling with him. Don't panic. The Bills had a big win behind James Cook. And for once, Josh Allen didn't do much. I wouldn't read too much into this. James Cook got about half his touchdowns this week as he had all last season. So it's definitely a fantastic game for Cook. But let's not overreact too much on the results here. Great game. This is what the offense is supposed to look like, but odds are the touchdowns will still go to Josh Allen in the end. One of the nice things was that Khalil Shakir had a really nice game. He ended up with 5 catches, 54 yards for a nice 10.2. He seems to be the main guy, just like we thought. I thought Curtis Samuel was overrated. Thought he was a little underrated. If you picked him up late, like I said, and recommended you do, you have a nice flex type player there. So that's Thursday Night Football. And other big injuries, who do we want to start with? Let's start with the guy who seemed like he was going to be the fantasy MVP, Cooper Kupp. Let this cup pass for me. Huge game for the Cardinals. And when we're talking about rookie receivers balling out, we're going to talk a lot about Marvin Harrison Jr. Cooper Kupp left before halftime.
I'm in a glass case of emotion.
He was off to a nice start. He had 7.5 points on 4 catches, 37 yards, 6 targets, but left with what looks like a high ankle sprain. That's what it looks like. McVay said he'll be out for a while, possibly IR, so make other plans if you have him. Obviously, Ty Johnson's a nice pickup we'll talk about in the waiver segment, and Demarcus Robinson. Huge game for Marvin Harrison Jr. He absolutely destroyed. If you have him on your team, awesome. He went for 4 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns on 8 targets. Same thing with Kyler Murray. He just balled out. This is what the Arizona offense was all about. This is why I was high on Murray as a quarterback. The Murray up offense, the Murray go round, as I said in the offseason. He scored 28.54 points. Didn't really even play the full game. The game was over by halftime. Dominant. Really nice game from James Conner, 19.4 points. Trey Benson got some run, didn't do much with it. Conner's still the guy. Had a great game from Kyron Williams. Touchdown kind of saved him, but in the end, you're missing that many offensive linemen. It's a tough one. I might honestly look to bail on Kyron. See what you can get in the trade market. If you're not going to get a lot for him, don't bail. Don't just give him away, but he's someone I would look to trade away.
Looks like they may be working on a trade over here.
Another one on the injury front, Deebo Samuel. So the Vikings, Justin Jefferson looked great. Sam Darnold is somehow the MVP of the league. Him and Baker Mayfield are 2 of the top quarterbacks in fantasy, just like we all thought. Just like everyone thought. Jefferson's injury looks like a leg contusion. He should not miss any time. You should be fine with him. Sam Darnold just hit him on that awesome 90-something yard touchdown pass. It was glorious, especially as a 49er hater, as I am. 23-17 Minnesota. Big one for San Francisco is Deebo Samuel. He's going to miss a couple weeks, looks like, with a calf injury. That's a big blow. Obviously this means an upgrade for Ayuk. Jawan Jennings, perhaps looking strong there. And Brock Purdy, unfortunately, without all the weapons, is not performing well at all. So 15.9 points this week. He's only averaging 12.2. He's someone I avoided in drafts for the reason I don't think he's that good in fantasy. Even without a huge touchdown upside, especially without McCaffrey, not someone I'm looking to stream. And now without Deebo especially, not looking great. On the Vikings side, keep an eye on Ty Chandler, but both him and Aaron Jones looked really good. Bears, another injury from Mixon.
'Tis but a scratch. A scratch? Your arm's off. No, it isn't. Well, what's that then? I've heard worse.
He got hurt on a hip drop tackle in their 19-13 win. He is someone who has taken all the running back touches. So without him, look for maybe Cam Akers, even though he had a fumble this game. They'll get imaging. We'll find out how bad the injury is here soon. But if it doesn't happen before waivers run, look for Cam Akers to pick up. The Bears, Caleb Williams, top pick's not doing well. He's just, against real defenses. I don't know, the guy got fired from Seattle. The offensive coordinator got fired from Seattle because they didn't run a dynamic or exciting offense, and we're seeing a non-dynamic, non-exciting offense here. He's averaging 7 fantasy points a game so far this season. If you have him, you can just drop him. Rookies typically get better after the bye week, but that roster spot you're holding on to until at least week 8. So you can probably drop him, even though the next couple games, not next game gets Indy, but the Rams, Carolina, Jacksonville after this week, that could be potential for him to step it up. As far as receivers are concerned for the Bears, DJ Moore, and that's it. That's all I'm really looking at. Keenan Allen's got the injury. Rome Odunze's a rookie, and this rookie did not step up. Next game, and unfortunately next injury, is the Chiefs and the Bengals. What a game this was, 26-25 Chiefs. Controversial late call, but I do think it was pass interference. Whatever. Isaiah Pacheco broke his fibula on a play, and it was not fun at all, as you have a guy who was one of the few guys who was the guy, 17 to 20 touches per game. Every game, he's got everything he wants. He has the talent, he has the targets, he has the touches, and yet now he's out. Who to replace him? It's going to be a mix of P. Ryan and Carson Steele. I kind of like P. Ryan better just because he does more in pass protection, but it's a tough one because they're also going to add someone from their own waiver wire. They're also looking to add people into that running back room, so try to plan accordingly. There's no like for like replacement. This isn't something there's no like for like replacement. Quarterbacks, top picks that disappointed, you have the Panthers and the Chargers. Chargers 26-3. J.K. Dobbins again dominated. Quentin Johnson, interesting name. You might hear him in the waiver wire segment here in a minute. But most importantly, Bryce Young is now being benched, which is sad for him, but good if you own Deontay Johnson, and good if you have Chuba Hubbard. Should boost them up, should actually be able to get the ball out. It was not good. There's no really need for any analysis there. If you saw it, you saw it. The other former top picks who didn't do great. Jacksonville, Cleveland 18-13. Very fun score. Deshaun Watson actually played pretty decent here. He started strong. He finished with 168. No touchdowns. Nothing really doing on starting Deshaun Watson. Jerry Jeudy had an interesting game. He had 6 targets, 5 catches, 73 yards. Amari Cooper only 3 catches on 8 targets for 11 yards. Just kind of been an ugly season for him. I'm kind of targeting him as a trade, but I don't know. Tank Bigsby hurt his shoulder, so he ended up not doing anything, giving Travis Etienne 13 touches and a touchdown, 50 yards. Slow going for the Jags offense. It just was not good. Trevor Lawrence, 14 of 30. Yeah, you heard that right. 14 of 30, so less than 50% completion percentage. I just don't know if this is going to work with the current coaching staff. If you have him, you can go ahead and drop him. It's fine. And Christian Kirk, I'm guessing he's still injured because he had 1 catch on 3 targets for -1 yards. Guy who I thought was a value in the preseason. I'm guessing that injury is still lingering because you don't just go from a guy who is targeted and gets catches every game to a nobody just like that. All right, let's go with some disappointing games. The Cowboys disappointed. The Saints stomped, though, and that was awesome. Kamara, what can you say? 5 touchdowns, 44 fantasy points. The dude balled out. It was incredible. If you played him, I'm sorry. If you had him, awesome. It's cheat code. But even in non-PPR, he would have done basically, he only had 2 catches, so even in non-PPR, he dominated. Cowboys, unfortunately, still kind of frauds. Liar! And more importantly, for our fantasy football's sake, they didn't really tell us anything about the running back room. Dowdle, 9.9 points, Zeke, 5.2. They basically have the exact same after 2 weeks rushing yards. Zeke has 18 points. Dowdle has 14. Nothing to really see there. Lamb had one good play, really. So he was bailed out by that, 19 points. And Dak, 14 points. I mean, they started slow last year as well, fantasy-wise. Tough matchup against Baltimore, but then they get the Giants, then a tough matchup against Pittsburgh. So really, after the bye week, it starts to lighten up a little bit. So if you have Dak as your main guy, if you have Lamb as your main guy, don't panic. Don't trade Lamb. He's still one of the few who can really get it done. But man, for the Saints, Derek Carr is number 2 in fantasy, just like we all thought in the preseason, like we all said.
Nailed it.
And Rashid Shaheed he's getting a deep throw every game. So he's someone who, man, if you got him, I don't know if you trade him or if you hold him, but just ride the wave. This is great late round value. Olave, I said to trade for him before it's too late. It might be too late now. He broke out. If they were panicking after week 1, it's too late now. Man, what a game. What a stomping. It was embarrassing if you're a Cowboy fan, but it was pretty awesome. Another disappointment is the Ravens. They lose 26-23 to the Raiders in a surprise game where Gardner Minshew threw it 38 times. Devontae Adams balled out, 9 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown. Brock Bowers, love the fact I got him in one league. One of my 3. 9 for 98. So huge game for him. Zay Flowers for the Ravens continues to prove to be the guy. It's 9 for 91. Mark Andrews kind of resets, goes back to, hey, I'm the tight end one with 4 for 51 on 5 targets. Isaiah Likely comes back to earth, 2 for 26. Derrick Henry, 18 for 84 and a touchdown. A nice game for him, including 1 catch for 12 yards. That was more of what we expected, 18 to 20 touches for him. Getting the touchdown equity. Lamar still had 16.38 points. Still is the guy. You have no doubt starting him. That rushing, even in a bad game, he still produced great numbers. Nothing to see there. The running back room in Vegas is still interesting. Madison took a lot of the touches last week. This time he had half as many touches, but he had the touchdown. Now, he did not get any catches. He had 5 catches last week, if I remember correctly. None this week. So that's going to be a problem going forward if you want to start any of these guys. Another guy I told you to trade for last week in a game Seattle versus the Patriots was DK Metcalf. In a 23-20 win for the Seahawks, Metcalf had 14 targets, 10 catches, 129 yards, and a touchdown. If you'd have listened, you would have had a guy who got 28.9 points. Huge game for him. Geno Smith looked great. He's going to be one of my top waiver wire ads at quarterback. The Patriots, they played everyone tough. Hunter Henry was interesting for him. 8 catches, 109 yards on 12 targets. And also Jackson Smith and Jigba for the Seahawks, 12 catches, 117 yards on 16 targets. If you drafted him late, man, you're looking like a genius. Another rookie who impressed was Malik Neighbors, 18 targets, 10 catches, 127 yards, and a touchdown. Basically the only guy Daniel Jones looked to, and that's what we like.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Like way too much Wan'Dale Robinson last week. Devin Singletary had a great game as well. Another guy I was big on in the preseason. Late round value. Both of these guys actually that I was big on in the preseason, him and Brian Robinson Jr. had really fantastic games. The Giants score 3 touchdowns and lose. The Commanders kick 7 field goals and win. Strange game. Jaden Daniels, no touchdowns, but don't panic. That type of thing. Ebbs and flows a little bit. Daniel Jones, I told you, was a sneaky play, and he played well as he scored 18.3 fantasy points. Pretty good for a little waiver wire ad, especially a risky play like that. I feel good about that. Austin Eckler, not a bad effort at all. He ended up scoring 11.5 fantasy points compared to Brian Robinson's 14.6. So if you got him super late, that's an RB2. He's not getting a ton of touches, but man, 8 carries is good. And 3 catches for 47 yards on 3 targets is nice. It's a very nice stat line for him. Moving on to another MVP candidate, like we all thought, Baker Mayfield, the number 1 quarterback in fantasy, showed off 5 carries for 34 yards and a touchdown. Just like we all thought.
Never trust nobody.
Obviously, if you have him on the waiver wire, you needed to pick him up. 18.8 points. He's averaging 24.2, and he is QB number 1. Incredible. The other incredible thing here, Chris Godwin, like we said in the preseason, moving to the slot. might be a cheat code. 7 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, he's the only guy over 20 fantasy points the first 2 weeks. What more do you love? Rashad White, Bucky Irving, starting to split carries. If you have trade target for you, I would say Bucky Irving. A little more Jahmyr Gibbs for the Lions this week, so we like that. He had 13 carries, 84 yards, compared to 11 for 35 for David Montgomery. And Amon-Ra St. Brown definitely came back. 11 catches, 119 yards on 19 targets. Jared Goff was bad. 34 of 55, 300 yards. You think, okay. But his QBR, 36.4. His rating, 61.7. And 2 bad, inexcusable interceptions. You'd think, he was someone I streamed this week in the league where I lost Jordan Love because I thought, hey, good matchup, indoors, should be fine. No.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
He was bad. Drop him. Steelers, Broncos, not too many takeaways from this. Justin Fields, they've definitely taken away a lot of the playmaking ability of him to keep him focused, which is winning games, and that's all that matters to the Steelers. So, George Pickens, bad game, but trade target here because he was being covered by Patrick Surtain. For the Broncos, they can't run the ball. They just can't run the ball. Javonte Williams is still the guy, fortunately for me, because I was starting to panic. He did have 5 catches, and McLaughlin didn't really do too much, 3 for 6. So for those who thought he was going to take over the backfield, he did not. Javonte had 11 for 17, looked better. Better is relative against a great defense. Bo Nix, nothing doing there. Another rookie that disappointed. So let's go to the Monday night game. The Falcons steal it late. Kirk Cousins looked much better. Drake London, still not quite what you like. The touchdown was helpful, but only 7 targets, 6 catches, 54 yards. Good game for him. If you had him, you're definitely relieved. Bijan's the guy. What more can you say? 97 yards on the ground, 4 catches, 25 yards to the air. Didn't punch one in today. That's the only disappointing part. He is 1 of 1. He is Bijan Robinson. I mean, 16.2 fantasy points without scoring, a touchdown. That's pretty impressive for a running back. Jalen Hurts got 23. The rushing really came back this week. He had 13 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown. He threw for 183 and a touchdown. Devontae Smith was awesome, 7 for 76 and a touchdown. Saquon was awesome. I mean, this offense is nice. The narrow Saquon with a nice 17.6. He's number running back 3 after 2 weeks. He's been great. I definitely had my doubts. So those are the injuries. AJ Brown out for a couple weeks. He should come back. He should be fine. But lots of injuries this week, which means we got to play the waiver wire. Quarterbacks. Let's start with quarterbacks. If Mayfield's available, you got to take him. Now, he's definitely above the 50% rostered. In the lower roster, Geno Smith is the guy I'm looking at. Derek Carr, obviously, if he's available. Those are kind of the key ones. For sure, Derek Carr is the number 2 quarterback in fantasy. But if he's not available, look for Geno. Even against Miami, I think I like him a lot this week. Sam Darnold, I mean, they play against Houston, but he's been great. For running backs, one of the Kansas City guys, Carson Steele, Samaje Perine. I might go Perine, but once again, we'll see who they bring in. Rico Dowdle, so as I've said previously, is one to add. Bucky Irving, he would be more of my pick. Braylon Allen had a great game for the Jets. If he's available in a deeper league, kind of that tier 2, tier 3, he's not getting much run behind Brees, but he should get some. Wide receiver adds Demarcus Robinson. If he's still available in your league, he shouldn't be, but he'd be my number 1 ad. Jawan Jennings here while Debo's out. Ty Johnson. But the one for me, really, Quentin Johnson, because he's going to have more season-long value. Quentin Johnson, the last 2 weeks, he had 3 catches on 5 targets and now 5 catches and 6 targets for 2 touchdowns. So it won't be a huge passing offense. I don't expect a big week here against Pittsburgh, but he might have the most season-long value. Him and Demarcus Robinson might have the most season-long value. So give me Demarcus Robinson 1, give me Quentin Johnson 2, Jawan Jennings, Ty Johnson 3 and 4. Tight end pickups, Colby Parkinson disappointed, but the one we're really looking at is Hunter Henry. If you need one, I mean, he all of a sudden got 12 targets because they were trailing, and they'll be trailing a lot. So I think if they're going to be throwing, they're going to be throwing to him. Zach Ertz has had back-to-back nice games. 5.8 the first week, but 10.2 last week. Should be trailing in this one again. think he's the type of guy that he's going to be annoying until Senate takes over, but he's going to be around forever. All right, streaming defenses nailed some of these last week. Tampa Bay against Denver. I think that's a pretty obvious one. They didn't do much against Detroit or really against Washington, but Denver's a different story. Seattle against Miami. Still riding the Seahawks. So that's pretty awesome. And then the Packers have played well in their first 2 games. 3 picks last week, only 10 points against Indiana. Will Levis has been throwing the ball to the other team a lot. I like them a lot as a streamer as well. So good luck on your waiver wires. Good luck on this week. I was 3-0 this week, so hopefully you're following the advice and you're also 3-0. Have a good coffee break.